What are you actually selling? That's the big question. As a sales trainer and performance coach, I sometimes I get challenged by salespeople, especially ones who come on into my training or come into a company that I'm working with, and they'll be like, you're a sales trainer, performance coach. It all sounds good, but have you really sold anything lately, or are you just teaching theory? And I understand the question. I really do. But I'm selling the same thing today, every day, that I've always been selling. And it's the very same thing that you're selling, whether you realize it or not. Hi, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Dwayne Hump. I'm a sales trainer and performance coach, 14-year sales veteran that started his own company, 4 of them to be exact. And now I also serve internally as a corporate sales trainer and performance coach, and I sell every day. And I'm selling the exact same thing, as I mentioned, that I've always sold. And it's the same thing that you're selling, no matter what industry you're in, no matter what product, service, or solution you're selling. We're all selling people on the belief that there's a better outcome, that there's a better or higher level that they can achieve or that they can realize if they choose to believe it. And just like a product, a service, or a solution, some choose to believe it, some choose not to believe it. But guess what? Whether you're selling a product, a service, an idea, a business, a solution, whatever it is, people have to make a decision. Is staying exactly the same better than taking the risk of making a change and going in a different direction? And for those, our job is not to convince them or persuade them, but to lead them to the belief that a new direction, that a higher level is possible and achievable. And the hardest part of that sale is selling them to believe that they're actually capable of and worth it. I mean, think about it. Your product, your service, your solution, my business of sales training and performance coaching. It's a game of influence. And what that means is being able to fully understand where that person is, the reality of their situation, but more importantly, getting them to realize and face the reality of their situation. That's a hard sell if you don't know how to do it properly. But if you will lead them and simply facilitate a conversation of self-discovery, getting them thinking about and talking about, because when they think about it, they face it, they talk about it, they feel like they're talking to you, but what they're really doing is talking to themselves. And we're trying to get them to understand, here's where you are, or where are you? Where would you ultimately like to be? If you could bridge that gap, or if you could ascend to that next level, or if you could change this game and get away from the junk and get that barrier that might be standing in the way out of the way, where would you ultimately want to be? What's keeping you back? But more importantly, why make a change? Why even desire that higher level or that better result, the more money, the bigger business, the better quality of life? And then understanding or getting them to understand what happens if you don't make that change. What's the loss going to be? What's the compound loss going to be? What are you giving up? What's the opportunity cost if you don't believe that next level is doable, that you're worth it, that you deserve it, and that you can do it? That's what I sell every single day. And it requires all of the skills that I've ever gained. In my past, I sold across multiple industries. I landed ultimately in pharmaceutical sales, worked for 4 different pharmaceutical companies, had some tremendous training, right? That really solidified and developed, but I didn't stop there, because I fell in love with training. I fell in love with speaking when I was 15 years old as a leadership speaker. Introduced me to concepts that I'd never considered as a 15-year-old, and it shaped and molded my life. And I got the desire to want to give back and sell people on the concept and the belief and the idea that they're here, that they could be here, and that if they knew what was in the way and they could remove it, the payoff would be huge. So ultimately, when I started, the dream was to speak to lead, to motivate, to empower. And then when I went through the extraordinary training I had in my sales career, especially in the pharmaceutical industry, that kind of attached itself to sales training and performance coaching. And I fell in love with training because I saw what it could do. But what it ultimately does is it helps people to see what's possible, and then helps them to convince themselves that they can do it. They can live higher. They can sell more. They can achieve more. They can grow their business bigger. And so every day, I take all the skills I learned in 14 years of selling, and then had mentors as I entered the training and speaking space, continuing to learn, to invest in myself, to pay for coaches, and then to apply the stuff they taught me. And then when I got the results in my life and the results for the people that I was helping, be able to perpetuate that. So what do I do when I sell? And what do and this is my truth, right? This is what I've experienced. This is what I share with my clients and my students. And this is how we get our results. The very first thing that we have to do is be focused on helping them by understanding them. Dean Graziosi, I don't know if you know him, one of my mentors, likes to say that people don't buy when they understand you, they buy when they feel understood. And if we don't start with an understanding of who they are, what they're trying to accomplish, what the reality of their situation is, and we can't demonstrate that understanding, their walls are up. They don't trust us. So I have to come from a place of childlike curiosity, concern, and care. And I have to help them, again, to face and to walk through and demonstrate that understanding. But ultimately, what I need to do, and what I've always done in every sell, is try to understand what is it that they already care about and value. Because I know that if I understand what they value and I can help them get it, or help them get more of it, whether it's through my product, service, or solution, or pointing them in the right direction, it's only then that I can influence them and lead them to an outcome that they deserve or that they desire. And so for me, it's never been about pushing, convincing, pitching, demoing, feature dumping, or trying to, I guess, sell them. But it's always about facilitating that self-discovery and having those light bulb moments, having them have those light bulb moments. Because if they do that and that momentum goes in that direction and they see this gap, but then they start to believe that they can accomplish something greater, I don't have to close them. They close me. And it usually sounds like this: Dwayne, this sounds amazing. How do we do this? Or what's involved in this? They start asking questions. And I simply answer those questions very patiently, and I don't push. And when I get to the end of it, I'll say, how should we proceed? What would you like to do? And if I've done all of those things correctly, and listen, anytime I've ever tried to close somebody or convince somebody or push somebody, it's always backfired. I got kicked out of a doctor's office one time when I was in pharmaceutical sales because I tried to close him. He says, if you ever try to close me again, and he walked me out of the office. He said, when you come back, I'll let you come back, but if you ever do that again, you will not be welcome back in this office. And I had another doctor kick me out because my manager was riding with me, and I wanted to impress my manager, so I pushed on this doctor a little too hard, and he kicked us out of the office. So hard closing, being aggressive, doing tie downs, overcoming objections, closing, making people feel, that's never been me. It's never worked for me. What's always worked for me is trusting that the person that I'm selling to is a smart human being, a real human being. They care, they value, they have families, they're trying to provide, they're trying to grow business, they're trying to make a living. And I have to trust that if I help them to see a path forward, and if they want to make a change, and if there's a problem that needs to be solved, and I'm patient, chances are they're going to make the best decision in their interest. The only thing that changes that, if I get in a place of neediness because I only have one person, one business that I'm talking to in my pipeline, and if everything is hinging upon that conversation, then I fall in this place of need and having to push, persuade, and all that kind of stuff, and that's just not the way to do it. So To those of you who would ask, well, Dwayne, you're a sales trainer and performance coach. Do you actually sell anything? Yeah. I probably make the hardest sell there is to make every single day, because when I'm working with sales leaders and sales people, it's so easy for not just theirs, but mine, all of our egos to get comfortable and protective of where we are, and to address and to face and to realize that there's a distance between where we truly are and where we could be or want to be, that there's more for life that we're not attaining yet. That's hard. But if I handle it, the conversation with care, and help them to see what the potential is, and then help them see the path forward or show them the path forward, that's the kind of selling I do. And that's the kind of selling I encourage everyone to do. And whether it's salespeople, sales leaders, business owners, entrepreneurs, anybody who needs to offer products, services, and solutions for their livelihood. So many people resist. So many people shy away from it because they've been taught for so long that you got to push, persuade, pitch, demo, convince. And I'll be honest, I think one of the biggest sins of the sales industry, is that business owners, sales managers, sales leaders put these enormous quotas on people, and when people achieve the goal, they do it again because they're, some of them are beholden to shareholders and responsible to shareholders, and some of them, there's so many people in positions of authority that should not be there because they have no leadership skills. And there's so many people who own businesses who hire great people, and I think they do it with the best intentions because they hire great people to do great things, but then they come in and they swoop down and micromanage people and get in the weeds and get all up in the minutia that they hired good people to be able to do for them. And so if you're a business owner or a leader or a sales leader, realize that you hired good people for a reason. Trust that you vetted them properly. Trust that they have the skills that you hired them for, or you wouldn't have hired them. Ask them how to solve problems. Don't tell them how to solve problems. You'll be amazed at how much easier your job will be, right? And I guess that goes back to selling and convincing, right? I think one of the things that I do very well is I help people to see what might be standing in the way of them achieving their goals. And when I've worked with sales leaders and business owners and people in executives positions and positions of authority, I help them to see, listen, I know you're in the business and you see the high level stuff and you see the numbers, the dollars and the cents, the black and the red, and I know it can get scary at times, but sometimes you just got to humble yourself and spend time with the people and listen and ask. And don't be afraid of the answer. It might upset you at first. Don't be afraid of the answer. The answer to your biggest business problems, that could, and I've seen it time and again, that could triple, quadruple, 10x your business, is for you to stop being the bottleneck and start going to your people and not telling them what to do, but asking them what needs to be done here. They're the experts in what you hired them for. You are not. But it all comes back down to selling, convincing, and persuading. And the micromanager who jumps in the weeds and gets all up in the business of his people or her people, that's the equivalent of pitching, persuading, convincing, closing. Nobody likes that. And you're not going to get production out of that. Or you're going to limit. There's something called the law of the lid, John Maxwell. An organization can never rise higher than the level of the leader. And if you find your organization stuck, guess what the problem is? It's you. So either get another leader in place or raise your level of leadership so they can come up with you. But stop trying to push, convince, persuade, hard close. Stop trying to sell them and have them sell you. Right? They have the answers. Just like your customers and your prospects, as salespeople, we should have the questions. Our prospects have the answers. And if you're a leader, you realize your people have the answers. You should have the questions. And if you're not questioning as in conviction, but questioning to understand the bigger picture and understand the solutions, See, that's the thing. I get really excited about this. Just like you can't push, persuade, convince, close, chase your prospects, trying to convince them that they're wrong and you're right and they should buy. You can't do that with your employees. Rather, you need to pull from them an understanding and demonstrate that understanding, because when you understand and they share with you what they see, it'll unstick the bottleneck that's in your company. You'll go to the moon. But it takes letting go of your ego to do that, just like it does in sales whenever you're talking. So I'm a few cups of coffee in. Good morning if you're watching this in the morning. But this thought I had somebody challenge me on, Dwayne, what do you still sell? I sell every day. I sell the hardest thing there is to sell, convincing people their potential is real, that they don't have to be scared of it. There's another level, and that they can achieve it. And so many people are stuck in the status quo of what they feel safe, because their ego will not let them fail, and they won't take risks, even calculated risks, to get to the next level. And that's what you're selling. Whether you have a product, service, or solution, the ultimate sale you're trying to make is to sell these people that there's more that's possible, that there's better that's possible. But when you try to convince them that, they resist. The walls go up, they push back, they ghost, they avoid. But when you pull from them, hey, where are you? Where are you trying to be? What's in the way? Is it worth going to the next level? Because if it's not, where you are, you're surviving. You're doing well. Is there another level? Yeah, but what's that going to look like? What's that going to feel like when you get there? What's it going to feel like if you don't get rid of the pain or remove that barrier and you stay right where you are? Is that gonna compromise your peace of mind? Is that going to cost your business? Is that going to cost your relationships? So anyway, that's how I approach selling. I don't want to push, persuade, convince, hard close from a needy place. And I think the sin of the industry, like I said, is unreasonable quotas. And maybe not unreasonable quotas, but managers who don't have the skills to lead their people, but they want to push on them at the final hour and then fire them after 90 days because they didn't make their quota. When they didn't properly prepare them to succeed, and they didn't give them enough runway. I was working with one of my businesses. I'm a business consultant, and I was working with this business owner, and we were talking about a guy he had hired, and I said, "Where'd this guy go?" He goes, "He didn't stay around." I said, "Why not?" He said, "I told him when we hired him, this takes a while to develop these relationships. You need to give it at least a year." And this was a small business, $11 million. And the rep was probably being paid a base pay somewhere around $60,000 plus commission. And that business was willing to invest in that person for a full year without an expectation return. I see businesses that are, 2x that, 5x that, and they won't give people 90 days and support them and encourage them and remove barriers and empower them and uplift them and believe in them. They just shut them down and beat them up. And that's what their salespeople end up doing to the customer. So I'm gonna get off my soapbox. Hope you're doing well. Listen, if you found value in this and you would consider subscribing, just hit the subscribe button, hit the little bell so you're notified. And if I can serve you or help you, reach out to me, sellingwithinfluence.com, or right below here. I do a 5-week group mentorship and coaching program. And if you can check the details at the link below. If it's a good fit, join us. And my wife's cranking up the car and going somewhere, so that's my sign to get out of here. So have a great day. Let's talk soon. Remember, you can write your own ticket in sales. All you got to do is increase your influence, demonstrate the understanding to your prospect, invite them to a higher level, and let them make the best decision for them.